after the beat switch, you see all these people with dogs, with dog masks, they come out. So, Kendrick saying, oh, you're a dog, okay? Every dog has to have its day, which is an old saying. So live in your purpose. 616 in LA was the back-to-back drop right after a long-awaited 3 weeks and a surprise drop with Euphoria from Kendrick. While Euphoria was a pure, aggressive, bar by bar diss to Drake, this 616 in LA was a perfect lead up which had people's eyes wide open because it was a whole different sound, a more hip-hoppy, rappy vibe. Kendrick starts the song with a braggadocious style, more boastful bars against Drake, but then he never falls short. In the second half, he twists a knife and goes further down the rabbit hole he left off in Euphoria. There is some speculation that it could be told from Drake's point of view, or at least made to match more of Drake's style. I'm going to touch on that. Without further ado, let's get started with the 15 best bars in 616 in LA. There is some interesting Easter eggs about the intro. Some people have speculated that 616 is actually the first day that Kendrick met Drake. We also know that the 616, these are timestamps, and Drake is known to do all these timestamps in his music, so could be a play on that. Another thing, there is an interesting Easter egg in the intro of 616 in LA where there's this sound, and a lot of people haven't figured out what is this about. If you listen to that sound, it sounds sped up and people don't know exactly what it is. But I don't know, broken record, a train, a machine, just sounds like, but something keeps kind of repeating. Kendrick references Zack in this video. And from what I understand, the first time Zack was brought into Drake's video was in a song called Money in the Grave. I did find a really strange connection between the intro and outro of Money in the Grave by Drake with the intro to 616 in LA. You guys listen and you tell me if you see what I see. It does sound like maybe it's sped up some way, but there is this sound that to me is very similar. And what's ironic is that it also plays in the background of the whole video and in the background as Zack, who Kendrick references in this song as helping Drake with the Twitter bots, appears in the Money in the Grave video at the end of the video. And then this sound also continues to play in the outro of the song.
More than that, it's a lifestyle. It's, it's friends, it's family, it's the whole thing.
But the connection here looks crazy. And the first line in the song is, where should I even really start? I got hoes that I'm keeping in the dark. And he says, in the next life, I'm trying to get paid. When I die, I put my money in the grave. And this is also a song that Rick Ross is featured in. The irony. And if you see all of Kendrick's points, he's always like, die. So it's his way of saying, take your money, take it with you to the grave. Just a nice Easter egg. I just think Kendrick just really does so well with bringing these interesting metaphors and double entendres and puns and wordplay that can go in so many different directions and leave it so open for fan interpretation, which just makes this really hella fun for all of us.
In the beginning with Blood, is that the beginning or the end of the album? Because the end of Duckworth confuses me.
You know I can't tell you that.
Why can't you tell me?
Because it's for the listeners.
I need to know.
Number 1. Off-white sunseeker at the marina. F a phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever. Wine coolers spill on my white t-shirt, the sightseer. Before I get to these bars, I wanted to address something. There is some speculation that Kendrick wrote 616 in LA from Drake's perspective. Now, personally, I don't think so. And that's because after these lines, most lines to me are clearly written from Kendrick's direct perspective. For example, who am I if I don't go to war? I discover myself when I fall short. I come from love. All these, to me, these are clear Kendrick perspective. If any are written from Drake's perspective, it may be just these few bars because he's referencing yachts, wine cooler, themes that Kendrick doesn't necessarily always touch on. But let's not put it past Kendrick to also not touch on materialism when needed and talk about how desire and materialism pulls us in different directions. And if not, I do believe he definitely matched up some of the lyrics to speak more to Drake's language. And if you listen to 8 AM in Charlotte from For All the Dogs, there does feel like there's similarities in the first few bars of the song, 8 AM in Charlotte. The money speaking for itself, I call it fortune tell, fire top from a bitch that work in corporate sales. I personally believe these bars are Kendrick's perspective, and he's throwing shade at Drake through these bars. But anyway, as for the bars themselves, I think These are surface bars for Drake. And I know some are going to construe like Off-White Sunseeker as references to criticism of Drake's racial background. Again, I personally don't think so, but after all, it is Kendrick, and while these are surface bars, I would not put it past Kendrick to leave room for fan interpretation and surprise Easter eggs. If you go back to Kendrick's music catalog, he has many songs that reference how he wants to be moral, but criticizes himself for the love of materialistic things and for not always living up to full potential. So here, Kendrick starts the song off by playing into Drake's materialistic money game, showing off his indulgence in even more expensive things than Drake. Drake has pictures of himself with a Rolls-Royce Phantom. In an Instagram caption, Drake once wrote, "Back in 2007, we used to finesse this Rolls-Royce Phantom rental to convince people in the city we were destined to make it." And he was later gifted that Rolls-Royce by a friend, and he removed the medallion and placed an owl, that OVO owl, on the hood. As for Sunseeker, it is a brand of luxury yachts. Kendrick saying, "Forget that Rolls-Royce Phantom, which costs 500K. A yacht starts in the millions. That's where I am." Another potential wordplay is that there is actually also a yacht called the Phantom, but the Sunseeker is more notable. So maybe he's also saying, you deal with Phantoms, I deal with Sunseekers. As for the wine cooler spill, to me, it's an example, drinking and just spilling on your shirt while boating or doing something, right? Just being casual, not caring, being on the boat and just letting things happen. He wants to show that he can be in a yacht, but enjoy the simple things, just chilling. A simple drink spilling on him as he takes in the views. Just be a regular person. That's how I took these bars.
What do you want to do while you're out here?
I want to sightsee, really. Touch the people too at the same time. Yeah, that's about it. I'm a long way from Compton, so I want to see places.
Number 2, Trifecta, money, morals, and culture. That's my leisure, my visa, passport tatted. That's your hub in Ibiza. Lucas dwellings in Brooklyn just to book me some pizza. Who could reach us? Only God could teleport this type of freedom. So trifecta is a great word that means 3 things in one. Here he describes different aspects to himself, including the money part, because he's in a battle with Drake, who only wants to talk about money and fame. Money, morals, and culture. That's my leisure. Kendrick's music catalog is filled with the clash of human desires against spiritual transcendence and morality. So he says all of these 3 things I partake in. I like this part though. We all know where he says, my visa, passport tatted, that's your hub in Ibiza. We all know that you need a visa, a stamp on your passport for any country that you want to visit before entry, right? Ibiza is a place Drake has referenced multiple times. There are reports that Drake tested his album Honestly Nevermind, the one that was a little more dancey or whatever you call it, that had more island beats, and he tested it in Ibiza where he had a local producer there play a song and he sees how the crowd interacts. So another interesting Easter egg here. And in his song Ratchet Happy Birthday on For All the Dogs, he says, just say your piece and piece up like Ibiza. So ironically, this song also had a reference track that was leaked. Kendrick is saying on the surface level, my passport is stamped with so many visas for my extensive global travel. Not just you, Drake. On a deeper level though, to me, it sounds like he's saying my visa is me. My visa, passport tatted. In other words, me, myself, I am the freedom. I am the traveling person. My extensive global travel and me being free, I put that against your little escape to Ibiza, which you always speak of. I don't need that little escape because I have my freedom. And in Drake's tailor-made diss at the end, he says, I know you're in that Brooklyn apartment struggling.
I know you're in that NY apartment, you're struggling right now. I know it.
As a way of dissing him, as a way of dissing Kendrick, as if Kendrick left his family behind and is figuring out what to do with himself. Here, Kendrick is responding to Drake, saying, no, I'm free. I do what I want. I'm in Brooklyn for the pizza. Mentioning a pizza place called Lucali, which is also a popular pizza shop in Brooklyn, which many celebrities, including Drake, have taken photos at. And yet another local business that got put on the map or got some love from Kendrick, like Newhall King. But all this shows that even Kendrick's references, he leaves Easter eggs. He's saying, who can achieve this kind of freedom being rich, but also be free from all the shackles that you have on you, Drake, and that lifestyle that you're trying to perpetuate, and the degenerate things that you're a part of. Yet again, he gives credit to God. Another thing he does often, even in his aggressive euphoria, he speaks about teaching his son morality and God, teaching them morals, integrity, discipline. Listen, man, you don't know nothing about that. Speaking the truth and considering what God's considering, you don't know nothing about that. And that's why, again, why I attribute this perspective more to Kendrick in 616 in LA. Number 3, Who am I if I don't go to war? There's opportunity when living with loss. I discover myself when I fall short. I want to be good and upright, but how can I live with myself if I don't stand up for myself and go to battle when needed? If this battle takes me down a wrong road or something goes awry, I have to realize that something good and positive can always come out. So I have to just move forward. I like this line. I discover myself when I fall short. Kendrick knows that personal growth comes from overcoming challenges. He confronts limitations, leading to resilience. It's a pretty good life lesson. Another interesting part to this is when Good Kid, Mad City lost the best rap album to Macklemore's album, The Heist, which many people thought was a full-on robbery. Even Macklemore himself humbly said he was conflicted and texted Kendrick about it, and he felt that Kendrick got robbed. Can you imagine that? That even the winner of Best Rap Album texted Kendrick saying, "I'm sorry, man, I actually think you should have took it." But guess what happened the following year?
To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar.
In the 2016 Grammy Awards, Kendrick won Best Rap Album and almost Album of the Year. But that Album of the Year was given to Taylor Swift, ironically. And I discover myself when I fall short. He used the first loss to up his game and get even better. And ironically, when, just as a side note, when Macklemore texted Kendrick, there was some kind of shade thrown also at Kendrick from Drake when he was mad that Macklemore actually apologized, that he felt it was a robbery to Kendrick, because he was like, well, we all kind of lost, so why don't you apologize to me? But again, that comes off as more shade and more hate from Drake's side, or a bit of jealousy here. Tupac also addresses this theme a lot. Has a poem called "The Rose That Grew from Concrete." Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete, proving nature's law is wrong? It learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else ever cared. That was Tupac. And again, that theme of coming from nothing, that theme, making mistakes, being, hurt, but then still making it. Number 4. Tell me who gonna stop me. I come from love. Estelle, cover my heart, then open me up. Now, more Easter eggs, and a lot of people were debating about who is Estelle. So there is some controversy about who Estelle is, because there is a very profound Black British singer named Estelle, but Kendrick also has a line about Estelle in his song United in Grief from the Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album in 2022, where he says, I was 9 when they put Lamar in the grave, heartbroken when Estelle didn't say goodbye. Chad left his body after we FaceTimed. And this led me down a rabbit hole because it seems Estelle is someone Kendrick knew closely or a family member. There's some speculation that it's his grandmother, but I don't know about that. Someone on Reddit said that it was his grandmother and that he did have the name Estelle on his boots for a Coachella performance. So when I did research, I did see the boots. And when I turned for every angle, I almost didn't find it until I finally saw the word Estelle. But guess what else I found? Not only does it have the word Estelle, it has the full name on there. Estelle Oliver. And when researching this name, I did find obituaries that came up in the first result. Someone called Stella Oliver, who was 91 at passing, died in 2021, Alameda, California, next to Oakland. And this passing date is about a year before the release of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. So with the name reference United in Grief and his boots, I think it's safe to say that it's someone he knows. Maybe this old woman took care of him and helped him overcome some emotional barriers. But there is another possible entendre, which is the British singer Estelle, who mixes genres like R&B, reggae, and hip-hop. Estelle has a really popular song called American Boy, which is a lighthearted song describing a romantic relationship with an American and fascination with American culture. In it, she says, take me on a trip, I'd like to go someday. Take me to New York, I love to see LA. And the irony is the full name Kendrick has is Estelle Oliver. And Estelle also has a song called Oliver Twist. Not saying they're connected, but super strange and connection in the wordplay. Number 5, remember when picked up a pen, lyrics that I can trust, timid soul, stare in the mirror, asking where I was from often. I know this type of power is gonna cost. Kendrick just reflecting on the nostalgia when he first got into rapping and started writing lyrics, being nervous and scared, introspective and questioning himself. And with all that, he knows now and he admits how powerful rap and his lyrics can be and how it can come with consequences. And just look at what he did with all of his albums and look at what he did by replying back to Drake with these disses that really went crazy viral. Number 6, the mannerisms of Raphael. I can heal and give you art, but the industry's cooked As I pick the carcass apart, yeah, somebody's lying. I can see the vibes on act. Even he looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back. Kendrick is likening himself to Raphael, who was an Italian painter of the Renaissance, commonly depicting religious themes and scenes from the Bible. And his work was known for creating balance and harmony and good composition. One of his most famous works was The School of Athens, and it was considered a masterpiece. It was a painting of all the great mathematicians, philosophers, and scientists all together sharing ideas. Sounds a lot like Kendrick. Then he refers to the music industry, saying it's cooked. Our industry doesn't have its priorities straight. Good music isn't celebrated as much as, superficial pop music with good beats. And that those songs really don't have depth. And we are now in a time where social media, content, and streaming clouds and drowns out good music. The word carcass is such a good choice of words because carcass is basically a dead body of an animal. And I think of crows picking at a dead animal's body when I think of carcass. He refers to the industry that it's dead. So let me go ahead and break it down further. He goes, let me pick this apart. Then he refers to academics, one of the biggest hip hop streamers and bloggers of today. He's made known and has made it clear that his favorite rapper is Drake. And he has been on record in the past, and viral streams have called out Kendrick for taking too long to drop albums and not capable to battle with Drake.
Kendrick, we're not impressed no more. You've never battled nobody in hip hop. Who did you battle? Who?
So he calls him out saying, I can see these people in the industry lying and not being truthful. The word compromised was such a good word, and so many people started using it now. Even academics made it a slogan in his merch that he was selling online. He's saying that these people are partial and biased and may have an incentive to root for Drake. And this to me was such a smart move. It was such a smart chess move from Kendrick, because ever since that line, while Ack was covering the rest of the beef as it played out after that song, I recall him being very careful with his words against Kendrick, saying, I want to make sure I'm not being biased. Am I being biased, y'all? And this line helped level the playing field with media that was covering the battle, because no one now wanted to feel that they were biased towards Drake. Number 7, ain't no brownie points for beating your chest harassing Ant. Effing with good people make good people go to bat. And that was connected to the other line. Ant is referring to Anthony Soleh, who is Kendrick Lamar's manager, I believe since 2021. And Anthony Soleh is someone low-key, and there isn't so much information about him except that he's a known music executive now, and he worked with the likes of Nas and Future. And I believe currently he is Kendrick's manager. So when Drake dropped Push-Ups and Family Matters, he continued trolling Kendrick on Instagram. And he was posting photos of Anthony Soleh's face saying, when is it gonna go down? He would talk about trolling. This was pretty disrespectful in a way to use like the low-key manager's face who's behind the scenes to troll Kendrick. So here Kendrick is saying, you beating your chest arrogantly, harassing people like Anthony Soleh, who isn't really the one that you're battling with. It's me. And you messing with good people is gonna make people want me to win even more. It's gonna make them go to bat for me. And I mentioned this in the 25 Drake mistakes video that I made, that Drake going too hard with trolling Kendrick, it did give him a lot of enemies. Like, say you have an enemy and you start cursing him, but then also curse out the random people next to that person who aren't necessarily deeply involved. What happens? They all want to get you and they want to root for your enemy. That's where Drake went wrong. And here Kendrick is reminding him of that. It was also reported through DJ Academics that allegedly Anthony Soleh paid a bot streamer to inflate the initial streams of Not Like Us in the millions, up to 30 millions. The bot streamer says that he was hired to bot Not Like Us. Botting is just a way to send fake views to whatever, to some a video or a song to inflate the numbers. He says that the name on the account that paid him was Kendrick's manager, Anthony Soleh.
All right, fuck it, bro. It's Anthony Soleh. I'm crashing out because this is for my safety. This is how I feel. That's who paid me. Not saying I was in direct contact with him. That's just the name that was on the account that I got paid by.
And we don't know if this is true, but this is what the person claimed. I'll leave that to you to do more research on. Tell me your comments. Either way, we all know that Not Like Us was a banger and a great song, and a tremendous diss on Drake, lyrically, sonically, metaphorically, and in every way. Number 8, conspiracies about Kash Doll that's not even the leak. Find the jewels like Kash Doll, I just need you to think. I love these lines. Conspiracies about Kash Doll. In Push-Ups, Drake mentions Cash, who is the Weeknd's manager. He says, y'all do manager was Chubb's little blunt runner. Cash blowing Abel Bread out there tricking. Kendrick acts as a defender of all of Drake's claims against others. I love that. I love that every time Drake has something to say about anyone else, Kendrick comes to take up for the person. He says all these random conspiracies that you trying to put out about Cash, this Weeknd's manager, it's not even the secret thing. It's not even the thing. It's not even the leak. I love that line. Again, another great way Kendrick deflects and plays chess. Who knows? Maybe what Drake said is true, right? Like, we don't know, but Kendrick flips it and says, nah, that's not even it. But you know what's a good leak? Something related to you, bro. And what is that? He goes on to talk about. Find the jewels like Kash Doll. I just need you to think. Kash Doll is a rapper, a female rapper out of Detroit. And she was once robbed of $500,000 worth of jewelry. She says it was all her jewelry that she ever had and that she ever was given from anyone. She says that was the most heartbroken moment that she had ever. That she left this like box or of all of her jewelry in the backseat of a car and it was stolen from a parking lot. I don't know anything that Drake had anything to do with that, right? But who knows? That's what I don't know exactly what Kendrick's saying here, but he's saying, find the jewels like Kash Doll. I just need you to think. But we do know that she took a picture with Drake once, which her boyfriend broke up with her for. It seems Kendrick is just pointing people in that direction and sending Drake subliminals, maybe only he knows. Or maybe that she got robbed because of some nonsense related to Drake. Maybe it was her ex-boyfriend. I don't know. I'm not saying, who knows? And that ex-boyfriend felt he was trolled by Drake, so he wanted to get revenge on Kash Doll. Again, total makeup. But what a wordplay. Find the jewels like Kash Doll. And one of the biggest stories of Kash Doll is that she got robbed of $500,000. So go look for that is what he's saying. Don't talk about the leak about this guy, Cash. Number 9. Are you finally ready to play Have You Ever? Let's see. Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me? And like everybody else, what a line to flip everyone's brain and be like, whoa, what? I know Drake is probably like, wait. So all these people working for Kendrick, or someone is a mole, or someone is betraying Drake? Like, we were all surprised. Here, Kendrick is insinuating that someone from Drake's side is giving him the scoop on Drake. Obviously, all these truths, we don't know, right? We can only speculate. Is there any truth? It doesn't sound far-fetched. And even Drake himself responded to this in a way that leads you to believe that even Drake might think so. Because in Family Matters, he says, which one of my so-called need a shell from the clip, right? Like, he's trying to throw out subliminals to, all right, if what Kendrick is saying is true, who is it? Who needs a shot, right? That even Drake himself, he wouldn't have said that unless he also thought it. It could also be someone who was a part of Drake's team in the past who feels incentivized to dish out information. I won't claim to know for sure. The only info with someone leaking that I know is with Twitter, the Twitter handler Ebony Prince, who keeps leaking various pieces of info showing like all the belongings from Drake. We know all about that. And I didn't dive too deep in that personally because to me, I never fully connected. Number 10. Fake bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it. Can't Tootsie slide up out of this one. It's just gonna resurface. Every dog gotta have his day. Now live in your purpose. I love this song. Drake has come off like a bully plenty of times. Remember in Euphoria, Kendrick said, F all that pushing P. Let me see you push a T. Also, I don't like you popping shit out Pharrell. For him, I inherit the beef. In Travis Scott's song called Meltdown, Drake took rugged, disrespectful shots at Pharrell. For some context, after Virgil, the previous art director of Louis Vuitton, how do you say that? Louis Vuitton? I have no idea. Died. Pharrell took that spot as the men's creative director. And in Meltdown, in that song by Travis Scott, Drake said, man, F all that spinning the narrative shit. I melt down the chains that I bought from your boss. Give a F about all that heritage shit. Since V not around, the members that hung up the Louis, they're not even wearing that shit. Like as if like when you took over, nobody cares about Louis Vuitton no more. A lot of Pharrell's jewelry pieces were auctioned, which Drake bought and showed them off in his Jumbotron video. So a lot of this, man, just feels super disrespectful, to be honest, man. Like imagine buying pieces of jewelry from someone or off of them and then using it as a form of disrespect towards the person dangling the chains. Like, look, I got this. And then in Family Matters, remember what he said? Come take his legacy out of my house. Kendrick tried to take up for Pharrell. Then Drake responded like, well, I got all his stuff. And that's why you can see why, Kendrick is saying, for him, I inherit the beat. Don't push P, meaning Pharrell, and also the slang of pushing P. We know that Drake he trolled aggressively. That's his common thing. Drake constantly likes random social media posts that diss other peers, right? When Ross got attacked in Vancouver recently, Drake, he liked the post on social media and replied to one of Rick Ross's baby mamas. And then when he had a problem with his plane, Drake also commented and used that in songs. Here, he's reaffirming that someone within Drake's team is betraying him and doesn't like him and is wishing for his downfall. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it. Can't Tusi slide up out of this one? It's just going to resurface. It was a clever response with wordplay to Drake's outrow in TaylorMade, where he says, nah, not this time, you following through, which was a super strong Kendrick troll. But there's no way that Kendrick wasn't gonna respond when Drake said that. Here comes Kendrick flipping it even better by referencing Drake's Tusi Slide song. Not only can you not follow through, you're not gonna Tusi slide out of this one. And I just envisioned, Drake trying to Tusi slide out of the scene, but Kendrick dragging him back. And then further wordplay playing on Drake's last album, For All the Dogs. In the first-person shooter, after the beat switch, you see all these people with dog masks, they come out. So, Kendrick saying, oh, you're a dog, okay? Every dog has to have its day, which is an old saying. So live in your purpose. Get ready for that, Drake. Get ready for, you want to be a dog? Okay. Number 11. It was fun until you start to put money in the streets, then lost money because they came back with no receipts. I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed. Rumor has it that Drake went looking for anyone in the streets who could find some dirt on Kendrick that he could use in his diss songs. And as we all know, it seems Drake got nothing because most of what Drake was saying was old news and repetitive. He even tried to find the abusive things that Kendrick said happened throughout his family from Mr. Morale album. Imagine misrepresenting a song even because you truly have nothing else. Kendrick said that this didn't happen to me. Oh, this did happen to you just because you ain't got no dirt. So this is why I think he spent so much time on so many other people on his tracks. And I love when Kendrick says, I'm sorry. This is actually how I am. I love peace. I don't live this lavish, wild life for you to find out all these weird things about me. But guess what? I'm still a soldier. And if people are ready to hear the truth about you, I'm ready for that too. So he says, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed. I love this part of Kendrick because he typically spends his time on music that's enlightening and captivating stories, right? But he's not going to back down from a battle he deems important for the culture. There was someone who came on stream mentioning that he was asked about Kendrick for about 100,000 or so. This was on some random. I take this with a grain of salt because who knows who's trying to get caught. But someone did claim that Drake or someone from Drake's team tried to get dirt on Kendrick and was willing to pay 100,000. He got paid that money, and that person gave false info about Kendrick, about where he was staying and things like that. Again, none of this has been confirmed. Number 12, the Elohim KTW. No, you can't sleep. These images trouble you. No, the wires in your circle should puzzle you. If you were street smart, then you would have caught that your whole entourage is only to hustle you. 100 dudes that you got on a salary, and 20 of them want you as a casualty. And one of them is actually next to you, and 2 of them is practically tied to your lifestyle. Just don't got the audacity to tell you. Man, Kendrick goes so deep. Drake did push-ups, hit a little bit, Family Matters, hit a little bit, but nothing really compares to me to how Kendrick really paints these pictures and really goes in very specific about things. We've got some more crazy Easter eggs here because Elohim is God in Hebrew, and KTW is simply truly an Easter egg that no one really has found. No one really knows what the hell it means. I'm fairly well versed in Kendrick's catalog, and I haven't seen him ever, as far as I remember, I've never used this word, KTW. I even asked others who are more versed, and no one seems to have heard this before in his old music. And we do know Kendrick often uses acronyms, and in like that, he says, DOT, the money, power, respect, like dot for K dot. It does to me sound like an acronym for something, and some people will speculate that it could mean Kendrick the Warrior. An interesting twist is Drake does have a song called KMT on his album, More Life, which stood for Kissing My Teeth. So maybe this is Kendrick making up his own acronym. And interestingly about KMT from Drake, it's also a song that has the cadence and sound of XXXTentacion, the late rapper who died, from his song Look at Me, which XXX called Drake out on.
Bro, I'm 19 years old. That motherfucker, what is he, like 60? Didn't he get like surgery on his arms or some shit? Didn't he get like plastic surgery? Did he go see like Dr. 300 like 3 times? Bro, what the f***? You think I'm gonna let you take my shit and not say nothing?
Which Drake actually never acknowledged. You know, the KTW might just be something, an Easter egg that, you know, kind of send people on a path to look it up. Drake, you're saying that you're street smart. So if you were street smart, you would know what's going on. You'd be able to tell that the people around you are just hustling you. This was a common thread that in push-ups, Drake heavily pushed that narrative that Kendrick was getting robbed and that he was robbed. His father was robbed and he was hustled by the associates he works with for his music. But Kendrick lays it down better by saying, you have 100 on salary, one is right next to you, and 2 are tied to your lifestyle. Things that make you think, like things that you're like, wait, who, what? This seems to be more subliminal towards Drake, making him question his friends and associates as like, for who they are. It seems to me, okay, so we learned that Chubbs is one of the closest people ahead of Drake's security, and he's always mentioned the name dropped in Drake's song. We also know about 40, Drake's producer, from the 2018 Pusha T, you know, all that, like all this, we heard of these names. In the 2018 Pusha T himself, he alleged that he actually got the dirt on Drake about his son. He says he got it from a woman that 40, Drake's friend, was talking to about Drake. Again, all this is alleged, but that's what he says. He says he didn't get it from Kanye.
The information came from 40. It didn't come from Kanye.
Interesting. So maybe 40 is the person close. We also know of Lil Yachty, who's close to Drake. You know, so again, you know, all these people, he's just saying, like, throwing it out. Hey, man, all these people, think about them. And all these people, they just don't have the courage to tell you how they truly feel about you. It's like hanging out with the boss, like at your job. And some people who might hate the boss, they don't say that to the boss's face, right? Like, that's how I'm looking at this. This is also more mental games from Kendrick, because it's not only making Drake think like, wait, what, who? It's making the people around him question their allegiance, how they feel, and whether they're standing truly on what they think of Drake. Number 13. But let me tell you some game, because I can see you, my little homie. You playing dirty with propaganda, it blow up on you. And he's going to continue in the next line. So here, Kendrick calls Drake his little homie, meaning let me spit some game to you, Drake, since you think you know so much. Because Drake is always trying to say, I taught you everything. He says this in some of his previous songs. I made you, I showed you this, and that. You know, no, you're my little homie, Drake. And Tupac also has a song called Lil Homie, which is interesting. I see Kendrick as saying, you're my little homie. Let me teach you something you don't know. You're playing nerdy with number 14. You're playing nerdy with Zack and Twitter bots. But your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. Your little memes is losing steam. They figured you out. I love this line. Your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. What a way to say it. So this whole thing with Zack, he's a DJ. He started off as a DJ. I believe he started off at one of these clubs called Delilah, or these restaurants that Drake frequently visits. And that's kind of where Drake, you know, met Zack. And it seems like Zack, through the DJing music, he's become an influencer, and later became Drake's friend. Drake even brought him on tour with him. And by the way, Zack also signed Yeet and is his manager, I believe. So that's another interesting twist. He even makes an appearance in Drake's song Money in the Grave. But there's speculation that Zack, that he's playing with Twitter bot, that there were a bunch of tweets that came out that were discrediting Kendrick, like these random anti-Kendrick tweets. And that what Kendrick is saying is that you and Zack, you're playing nerdy. You got this guy like little Zack trying to do these little nerdy games, and let me bot the Twitter against Kendrick and all stuff, and that Zack is helping you with that. Again, it's all alleged. We don't know for sure. But I love that line. Your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. Basically, you can't hide behind the internet. You can't hide behind tech games. Number 15. It's time that you look around on who's around you before you figure that you're not alone. Ask what Mike would do. This puzzled me. Before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. Which Mike? Gotta be talking about Mike Jackson. Kind of interesting, because he says, before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. And you're not alone is also the name of Michael Jackson's song. Wordplay also on the name of songs. Like, what would Meek do by Pusha? And what would Pluto do by Drake? And what would so-and-so do is also just a common phrase. Super crazy wordplay. Michael Jackson also had this sort of reputation of being alone. People right now are fighting over his legacy and his music, even his own family. He was alone and didn't have a lot of people that they claimed they were on his side, but they truly weren't. So Michael Jackson was known to have passed away in 2009 over something that he was given that put you to sleep. I don't want to mention these things too much in the video, but this is something that you could only take in surgery. You only get this kind of drug if you're going under for surgery. Puts you to sleep completely, right? And it needs professional monitoring. Michael Jackson died from that. And his doctor, Dr. Murray, who was also sued and was convicted, he was giving him these things. So who knows the full truth how exactly it happened. But Mike did pass away from this. He needed this to go to sleep. He needed help. But this Murray person helped him. But in what way? At what cost? And it was revealed that they had a contract of $150,000 a month. So this Dr. Murray guy give Mike Jackson this and do this for him, give him through these injections and infusions, sit with him, do all this in exchange for $150,000. But what happened in the end? Mike Jackson passed away from the negligence of this situation. But now Kendrick is saying, ask what would Mike do? Sending Drake a message, pay attention to what happened to Michael Jackson at the end of his life. Someone actually ended up killing him. So before you think that you have all these friends, ask yourself again, what's their true intention?